Hi, and welcome to this edition of the Insurance Experts. It's my pleasure to have on the line Char, who we actually met through LinkedIn originally, but we've been attending the same long-term care conferences for many years. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is fun.
Okay, so first of all, tell me a little bit about how you got into the long-term care industry. You kind of have a unique story there.
Yeah, I was sort of a super nerd, so I went to graduate school. I was a research scientist. I did use computers to study protein folds, and my grandmother was diagnosed with dementia, so I transitioned into the provider side and started my own dementia facilities, and then home health agencies, and then the helper bees.
Wow, so you were in the provider side and then you started this insurance tech company. So how did that come about, getting into insurance tech?
Um, uh, it's not even in my wildest dreams would I have been here. So we built this new model for home care using a lot of technology. We thought it was great. We knew that insurance companies have a big problem, and we wanted to deliver our transformative services to them. So I actually went into this big company, big pitch, had a beautiful deck that talked about our personality-based matching and how we're going to change the world. The exec pulled out one slide, which is GPS tracking, and said, "Hey, can you do that for us?" And I said, "What you mean? What this your iPhone can do the last decade? Yeah, absolutely. Like, you want that? We can do that for you." So that's how we got into the insurance industry.
So sometimes the simplest things are the most game-changing things. And I guess GPS tracking hadn't been a part of the long-term
No,
provider space before.
no, we were blown away. Game changing is, to put it mildly, that threw us on an entire trajectory of building new software for insurance companies and thinking about things very differently. Because if you don't have GPS tracking, then what else do you not have? Is sort of what we started thinking about.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the service that you provide, kind of at the beginning of the process.
Yeah, so we handle something called intake. So you can think about that as, how do I file a long-term care claim? So what we do is just replace what you might think of a manual process. So maybe replacing the phone. Instead, we replace starting a claim online. So once you get that intake process, we go to eligibility. So are you approved for claim or not? Instead of paper, we have a mobile app. And then once you're approved on claim, how do you submit your invoices? Instead of paper and pencil, we have a GPS tracking mobile app that you can now submit all of your claims information.
Very cool. And then tell us a little bit about the matching that you had mentioned. How are you matching people up with providers?
So that was really important for us. Again, we've spent a decade, our founding team in long-term care. We sort of fell into this idea of personalities really matter when it comes to caregiving, novel concept, but it's something that the provider side really hadn't hit on. So we have three different personality types. We try to match these up with care recipients. We let the care recipient choose who their caregiver is, which is very different from the agency. They get connected and they're off and running using our technology the whole way.
That is so cool. And then, like, ongoing, as you're kind of going through the claim and this provider is providing care to the recipient, how do you kind of enhance the process there?
Our goal is sort of on both players' sides. We got the insurance company side, and then sort of the care recipient and their family. All across the board, what we're trying to do is open and be more transparent. So now with the mobile app, I can track, that a visit occurred. So if I'm managing care for my mother and I'm 3 cities away, I can look online and say, hey, that person is actually there. Also, I can track what sort of visit information that they did. Did they provide all the care that I wanted them to do? So as a care recipient or their family, it provides a tremendous amount of transparency. And on the insurance side, also a lot of transparency to make sure that my claimant isn't being a recipient of any sort of elder abuse or any sort of nefarious things that are occurring. Again, me as an insurance company, get a lot of transparency into that home care process now.
Right, because you have all the data, then you can kind of tell people what's going on a
Yeah,
day-to-day basis.
absolutely. And this data, though, which is really interesting, is it existed, but a lot of it existed on paper. And so we just came in and created it all digital. And turns out when you can touch and feel that data with your computer, you can do a lot of really fun things. So we've taken this data and showed insurance companies a lot of sort of fascinating insights into their whole claims block as a whole, but also individual basis. Like, how do I change this person's life with the data that we have?
Very cool. Okay, so for the insurance companies, you're providing this service which allows them to track the activity of the claim and file the claim. For the
Mhm.
recipient, you're also matching them with the provider. So tell us a little bit about this story. I know you had a unique case study where
Yeah.
somebody had used your system and they actually got a great benefit out of it. Tell us a little bit of the beginning of that.
Yeah, so one of our partner insurance companies had a call. So it was a claimant who was really worried about preserving her benefits. So she has a lump sum of money. She was using a home care agency to receive care and that care was just too expensive. And she sort of knew it was a little bit too expensive. Reached out, called her insurance company, and said, "Hey, I think I'm spending too much. I'm drawing down on this lump sum too quickly." And so they suggested our services. So we were able to come in, do a match, saved her and the insurance company about 20%. What that does is preserves her benefit. And it's tangible now, right? Now dollars equal care in our business. So she's able to get an extra hour, an extra 2 hours of care, which is transformative when it comes to maintaining independence.
Right. And for the insurance company, that allows them to be on claim longer, but not more expensive for the company to pay for, right?
That's right. So length of claim is important, but also severity of claim. If I can maintain a certain level, even if I were on claim for several months longer, as long as I don't jump a level in care, because that jump can be massively expensive. For instance, if I go to a facility, it could be twice as expensive to the insurance company. So longer is not necessarily worse, but just maintaining the proper level of care is something that we're able to do, with the matching services.
Okay, so with the provider level, is there really a large distinction between how much they charge to people off the street versus people that have insurance or private
Yeah.
pay? How does
That's a
that work exactly?
controversial topic. So we're going to put. I'll be political on it and say, anecdotally, I have seen certain rates go a little bit higher once a provider knows that the insurance company is involved. Not
Okay.
everybody does it, but it does happen. So you might have a little bit of a kicker added on to that hourly rate that is for the exact same service, just because they know that insurance company is paying for that service.
Right. So the key is, working with an expert, shopping around, asking
Yeah.
them these questions can save money. And even if an insurance company is paying for it, if you're able to save money, it actually can lengthen the amount of time that your loved one can actually stay on claim before they have to pay out of pocket later on.
That's right. I've been in long-term care, for over a decade. People don't shop around, and I think it's also because sometimes it's an acute condition and they're really stressed out. But it's like any other service that you want to go and make sure that you've got the right provider and they're charging you the right amount.
Awesome. Well, Char, I really appreciate you sharing what you do and this insight, and I hope to have you on a future episode.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.